You know, we live in a day and hour when it seems like everybody and their mama has a word for somebody, and it gets overdone. I know God still talks to people. I know He still gives words, but it gets overdone, and then people become skeptical. And so I tend to be careful. I tend to be a little hesitant and try to just like, Lord, is that really you? Is that really what you want me to do? And unfortunately, sometimes when you give a word to someone, either they don't like the word, or because there's been so many words before, it's just like, oh no, another one. I was looking for a place where I wouldn't have to like be given a word all the time. Can I tell you, we have the word all the time, and it's the word. Did you hear me? We have the word all the time, and it's the word. And you know, there's people that'll drive 2-3 hours one way to a meeting to get a word from someone, but all week long they never picked up the word. Nothing wrong with going to the meeting. But here's the thing. If you'd have took time to pick up the word before you went to the meeting, it may have been that the word you read during the week would have been confirmed at the meeting, and then you'd have said, oh wow, that really was God. So I'm hesitant. I believe it's a serious thing to say, thus saith the Lord, and it's not the Lord. Very serious thing. I think too many times, unfortunately, sadly, I think ministers feel pressure to do that. Some may do it out of desire for someone to feel like, they're really an awesome man or woman of God, etc., whatever. I got news for you. We better not go there. I have a pastor friend. This is one of his sayings, and it's good. He says, keep your fingerprints off the ark. I don't want to touch what God's saying not to touch. I don't want to say what God's saying not to say. And I'm not trying to sound real super spiritual about what I'm getting ready to tell you, but I was sitting right there. Didn't go out in the spirit, quote unquote. I wasn't lost. It was just in my mind's eye. I saw myself emerging from this dark tunnel. And thank God, I really didn't see the things that were in the tunnel, but I was made to know that that tunnel was filled with demonic things. And just as I was clearing the tunnel, I saw one or two, but thank God again it wasn't graphic. I've never been into horror movies. Didn't like them before I was saved. I hate them with a passion after I'm saved. Can I tell you, horror movies has no place in the child of God's life. That's not entertainment. That's demonic. It's straight out of the pit of hell. If you've been dabbling in that stuff, you need to denounce it. You've opened a door that'll cause you all kinds of problems. You need to hear me. Parents, don't let that stuff in your house. You need to say, as long as I pay the bills here, as long as I'm responsible for the mortgage payment, that stuff's not coming in this house. Period. It's not entertainment. It's demonic. I guarantee you, they're not sitting around in heaven watching the latest horror flick. You better hear me today. You better hear me. But as I emerged out of this tunnel, I looked back, and I heard a voice instantly as I looked back. It said, don't look back. The Apostle Paul said it this way. He said, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before, I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. I'm telling you, some of us right now need to just wipe 2021 from our our memories and our minds. It's behind me. It's behind me. I'm not going back. Thank God I'm through the tunnel. Not going back. I'm not going back. Because there's some brutally discouraging things that happened in 2021 that if you continue to dwell on, it'll try to drag you back and take you through a cycle again. You and I cannot afford to go around in circles. The opportunity of a lifetime must be seized in the lifetime of the opportunity. The children of Israel got to the edge of the promised land and ran out of faith. And a 24-hour segment of unbelief cost them 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. Did you hear what I just said? A 24-hour cycle of unbelief cost them 40 years. Might I feel God? You need to hear what I'm telling you. A 24-hour cycle of unbelief cost them 40 years. I cannot come to the moment of breakthrough and allow myself to have a faith failure. He that has brought me this far, He that has called me by His name, He that healed me and raised me up at 5 years old from paralyzed from the waist down with tonsillitis and pneumonia combined. He that has watched over my life and protected me and kept me thus far has promised, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Lo, I am with you even unto the end of the age. Hear me. 10 people filled with unbelief, with a tongue set on fire from hell, gave a report to 3.5 million people that destroyed their destiny. Some of what 2021 did was reveal some people that are speaking into your life that are not in your corner, although they were in your circle, as Pastor Stacy so eloquently told us about. You're going to have to stop the hiss of that hiss of the serpent in your ear. Joshua and Caleb and everything 20 years old and under was all that made it in. The rest wandered around until they expired. And every lap, as the winds of sand shifted and unearthed the hastily dug shallow graves from the last trip, they witnessed the bleached bones of those who died in unbelief. And I love the fire of God. Oh God, don't let the fire go out. Don't let the fire go out. I love the fire of Caleb. He said, I'm 80 years old, and my eyesight is not dim, neither has my physical strength abated. He said, give me that mountain. Give me that mountain. Come on, somebody. Give me that mountain. Give me that mountain. Give me that mountain. Now, I have a word from the Lord for you right now. I pray, God, you take it as such. I have a fireplace in my great room. And it's a source of great enjoyment. It's a source of great warmth. It's a source of beauty when the logs are burning and You can hear the wood crackling, and you can just sit there with your coffee and just relaxing. I'll usually try to put an extra log or two on the fire before I go to bed so that I don't have to start over in the morning from scratch. I'll still have some coals. Yesterday morning, I walked in the great room at 3:30. No, actually, yesterday was 4. That was the morning before. 4:11. And I still had 3 pieces of wood that was in the fireplace. Now, I want you to hear me. I want you to hear me, because this is a very powerful word. I still had 3 pieces of wood that was in the fireplace, but all 3 of those pieces had separated and fallen apart and were laying separate from one another and were not touching, and the fire had gone out. And I took the poker and I pulled those 3 pieces together, and the coals underneath them, as soon as they touched and became joined with one another again, ignited in a blaze. And I'm telling you, that's what the devil's trying to do to you. He's trying to take you out and set you aside and separate you from the very people you need in your life to keep you on fire. Don't let him do it. Do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. I may offend a few of our online guests this morning. God bless you. We welcome you. We're glad you're listening if you still are, if you're still watching. Maybe you moved on saying, well, it's just going to be praise and worship today. There's not going to be no word. But if you're still listening, I want you to hear me. The podcast is not designed for you to never come back to church. The podcast is designed for when you can't make it and it's a legitimate, honest to goodness reason. But when you can be here, you need to come and put your wood alongside ours and let the fire of God burn in you.